In this pic, you can see some of the materials that I'm starting to use, specifically with regards to flooring. And I'm using a 3/4 inch pre-engineered hardwood floor, meaning that the finish is already on the hardwood floor, but they are full hardwoods and will require some additional tools to get those installed. And then what's on the bottom there is 15-pound felt paper. This is similar to the underlayment that you see on roofing before they put the shingles on. It's the same type of material, and that goes on the subfloor and helps prevent creaking when you put the hardwood floors on. There's kind of a conception that these are actually used as a vapor barrier. They are kind of used for that, but not really in a sense. And what I mean by that is that when you're punching holes through tar paper, it kind of becomes difficult for it to be a vapor barrier, even if the nails are filling in the holes that you're punching through. So it's not really used for that, even though it does deflect some of the moisture coming in. And in the case of hardwood floors, these are more used to prevent creaking from your hardwood floors while they're sitting on top of your subfloor. What I mean by that is wood on wood, which would be the hardwoods on the subfloor, you can have the tendency to get a lot of creaking when you walk on it. The tar paper here, or the felt paper, will help remove that from the equation and make it less of a problem of squeaking when you walk on the floors. So that's what that's typically used for, and I do that on all hardwood floor projects whenever I remodel a room, and you're going to see that in several more projects coming up. Here's a good photo of a new ceiling fan installation in the room. We decided to get rid of the old ceiling fan in there and just get something a little more newer and contemporary. It has kind of a lantern look to it, as you're going to see here in a couple of photos coming up, and it's got more of like a farmhouse feel to it, and that's kind of the theme that we're going here with in this master bedroom. The furniture is going to be likewise farm style related or farmhouse style related, and we'll show you that as we get closer to the end of the project. These are some of the tools I'm going to be using to install the flooring and the molding into the room that I picked up. I've got a flooring nailer / stapler on top, that's for the hardwood floors, and then we have the compressor that is going to run that tool on top. I got both of these at Harbor Freight Tools, and if you are familiar with Harbor Freight Tools, they actually make some really good equipment and tools that you can use for your projects, as opposed to getting the name brand tools at the big box stores. They typically come in much cheaper than those name brand tools, and in my view, they do a really good job depending on what your tool you're getting. I look at it this way with Harbor Freight compared to some of the name brand. If it's a tool that you're only going to use like 3 times a year, 6 times a year at most, then I would go with Harbor Freight. You're going to save a whole lot of money, and you're going to get a tool that's still going to work. And I have a number of Harbor Freight tools in my arsenal of tools to use on specific projects. As of today, these two pieces here are going strong, and it's been a couple of years since I've purchased these. And in fact, up to this point, I think I've had maybe 3 misfires on that nailer, which you are going to run into when you use these type of tools, but it's been a solid tool with the thousands upon thousands of nails and staples that I put into these hardwood floors. It has malfunctioned very, very minimally. I think, like I said, 3, maybe 5 misfires. I can't even explain how awesome that is. So that's my little rant on Harbor Freight Tools. They make good tools. Use them if you need them for a project, and go from there. Here you can see us continuing on the installation of a few items here. You can see the new fan that is in place and the light is working there, as you can see. You can also tell it's got that farmhouse style look to it. It's got that little lantern looking lamp to it, and the color that you see there was pretty close to the other one, a little darker than the other fan that was in there, but it's going to work out quite nicely. And then you can see on the wall in the background, I've started to put a TV mount up along with power right behind the TV mount. One of my pet peeves about hanging TVs on the wall is I do not like to see the wires going down to an outlet down below. So I try to position any of my TV mounts close vertically to where an outlet is, so I can tie into that outlet with some power and then run the outlet to the top there, as you see in that photo. And that way you won't see any wires exposed, and it just gives it a really nice clean look. Here you can see the hardwood flooring that is going to be put into place here. I'm actually dry fitting it in place first to determine which pieces I want to have for the transition into the room. And once I get that all set, we'll start laying down the felt paper and then putting these pieces back in and nailing them into place. You'll notice that the color is slightly off from the main hallway and the main room, and the size of these are quite different also. In the main room, I think those are 2-inch strips, maybe 2 1/4, so they're very thin. And then in the master bedroom, we went with a hand scraped 5 1/2 inch or 5 1/4 inch with plank. I like working with the larger planks than I do the smaller ones. You cover more area as you put each board down, so you're not going to use as many staples. And I just like the white look of the planks as opposed to the thinner look of the smaller ones that you see in the outside of the room there. So we're going to continue on with this, get some felt paper down, and then move on. Here you can see the boss starting to put down the felt paper that is going to be underneath the hardwood floors. You'll notice that there are lines on the felt paper that run the full length of the paper, and that is used to be able to line up where you can either put your nailers in or line up how the wood flooring is going to be lined up on the floor. It's kind of a guide to give you distances so you can make sure that you're straight everywhere if you line the paper up correctly. But those are what that's for. And these come in, I believe, about 3.5 foot strips, maybe 4 feet. And then they'll be laid out throughout the entire flooring, as you're going to see in the next several photos here. And once those are in place, we simply go over that with the hardwood floors. These are just stapled into place using an electric stapler every so often, just to keep it from moving. Here you can see that she's continuing on putting the felt paper down. You can see she's using an electric stapler there. And again, about every 4 feet we're putting in a couple of staples just to keep these in place. Once you start putting the hardwood floors in, the 2 1/2 inch or 2 3/4 inch nailers and cleats are going to be going into the flooring, and it's going to hold that in place quite nicely. Here you can see we have the first row of felt paper down, and you can see by the line that is on the subflooring compared to where the paper is, it's very straight, which means we should get a pretty good visual representation of where the hardwood floors are going to lie on top of the felt paper and compared to where the subflooring is once we get to that point. Again, we just want to keep this as straight as possible, so when your eye looks down the room, perhaps from the bathroom door, that you'll see a straight line for the hardwood flooring. Here's a view looking back from the end of the room towards the hallway and the room leading into the closet area and then master bathroom. Again, you can see the paper going down, and we are going to continue on with getting all that paper down so we can start putting the hardwood floors in. Here you can see the first couple of pieces of hardwood flooring going into the bedroom. Now again, this is 3/4 inch thick hardwood floors, and the flooring in the main hallway and the entranceway into the main area of the house is also 3/4 inch. So when we butt these up against each other, the transition is very smooth and flush. So we didn't have to do anything there. And you'll notice that I am not using the nailer that you saw in the earlier picture. I'm using a normal 18 gauge nailer gun, and that is because the nailer that we purchased will not fit yet against the wall where that outlet is. There's just not enough room to get that in there and then hammer it down. So we have to use this nailer into the tongue and groove piece here against the wall. And then I can also go vertically straight down against the wall, because you won't see those nail holes because that will be covered up by molding and quarter round. So it's just another way to secure it into place. And on a couple of other projects in the near future, you will also see what I mean and how we do that. But in the entranceway there, where the doorway is, I was able to use the nailer stapler for the hardwood floors because there's enough space behind it to get behind it and hammer it in. With that being said, that's going to bring us to the end of this series. We are going to continue on with putting in the hardwood floors. You'll see the progression of that in the next series. So until then, we're going to wrap this one up and call it a day. So until then, ladies and gentlemen, peace out.